Welcome back, dragon lovers. Imagine living on an island where the night sky isn't just filled with stars but with fire raining from above, where every shadow could be wings and every roar could mean the end of your home, where monsters are real and they descend from the skies with fury. That's where our story begins, a place where humans and dragons are sworn enemies. And one boy is about to change everything, but it won't happen without sacrifice, fear, and a choice that could either destroy his world or save it. This is the beginning of How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action version that reimagines the classic tale with fire, blood, and heart. The movie opens on Berk, a harsh Viking island surrounded by stormy seas and jagged cliffs. It's night, and the alarm horns echo through the village. People scramble for weapons, livestock scatter, and in the skies, shadows of enormous creatures swoop down, spitting fire. Dragons are attacking. In this adaptation, it doesn't feel playful or cartoonish. It feels real, like a war zone. Roofs collapse in flames, warriors scream in pain, and the air is thick with smoke and terror dot in the chaos. We meet Hiccup, the son of Stoic, the vast Berk's chief. But unlike his father, who leads the charge with axe in hand, Hiccup is small, thin, and awkward. He's quick with words and clever with his mind. But in a village that values strength and violence, he's seen as a disappointment. He runs to Gobber, the blacksmith, begging to help. Gobber dismisses him with a gruff laugh. You can't lift a hammer without dropping it on your foot, boy. But Hiccup won't give up. He sneaks out with one of his inventions, a net-launching contraption he's built in secret, while everyone else battles dragons like Nadders and Grunkles. Hiccup does something reckless. From a cliff overlooking the sea, he spots the one dragon no Viking has ever seen clearly, the Night Fury, a sleek shadow that dives faster than lightning, feared as a ghost. With trembling hands, Hiccup takes aim. The net launches into the sky, glowing against the firelight. A screech splits the air. For the first time in history, the Night Fury falls from the sky. Hiccup gasps, heart racing. He's done the impossible. But when he runs back to the village, shouting that he brought down a Night Fury, no one believes him. Stoic scolds him, the villagers laugh, and Hiccup is left humiliated once more. The raid ends with fire still burning in the streets. Stoic counts the losses. Food stores destroyed, homes damaged, warriors injured. He glares at his son. You want to be one of us? Killing dragons isn't about tricks or toys. It's about courage. It's about strength. You don't have either. The words hit harder than any blow, but Hiccup knows what he saw. That night, when the village sleeps, he takes a dagger and slips into the forest. He follows the trail of destruction until he finds it. There, tangled in ropes, lies the fallen Night Fury. The creature is massive, scales as black as midnight, eyes glowing a piercing green. Its body tenses, and it snarls, shaking the earth with its growl. This isn't just a beast, it's a predator. Hiccup raises his knife, every lesson drilled into him screaming to strike. Killing this dragon would finally prove him worthy. But then, in the silence, he sees something unexpected. Fear. The dragon's chest heaves, its eyes dart, and for a moment, it looks less like a monster and more like a trapped, desperate creature. Hiccup's hands shake, his breath quickens. He lowers the dagger. With trembling determination, he cuts the ropes instead. The dragon collapses, too weak to fight, but instead of attacking, it stares at him, puzzled, almost curious. Then it vanishes into the shadows, leaving Hiccup stunned. The next day, Stoic prepares to lead an expedition to find the dragon's nest, a mythical place no one has returned from. He leaves Hiccup behind, placing him under Gobber's watch and enrolling him in dragon training. While the other teens, Astrid, Snotlout, Fishlegs, Roughnut, and Toughnut, cheer at the chance to prove themselves, Hiccup dreads it. He doesn't want to kill dragons anymore. But before training begins, he sneaks back to the forest. There, in a secluded canyon, he finds the Night Fury again. This time, the creature tries to rise but collapses. Its tail is damaged, a massive piece torn away, making flight impossible. Stranded and wounded, the Night Fury isn't a monster anymore. It's vulnerable. Hiccup studies it from a distance, sketching the broken tail in the dirt. The dragon growls, pupils narrowing into sharp slits. Every second feels like life or death. But slowly, day after day, Hiccup returns. He brings food, tossing fish nervously onto the ground. The dragon snarls but eats. It begins tolerating his presence, then watching him with cautious eyes. One breathtaking moment comes when Hiccup, after weeks of patience, stretches out his hand. The dragon leans forward, nostrils flaring, until its snout rests against his palm. In that instant, trust is born. The boy names him Toothless. Meanwhile, in dragon training, Hiccup struggles. The arena is brutal. Trapped dragons like Nadders and Nightmares roar and spit fire as the teens are forced to face them with weapons. Hiccup is hopeless with an axe, shield, or sword. The others mock him relentlessly, but instead of giving up, he notices things. He observes how dragons flinch at sudden noises, how they pause when threatened, how fear drives them more than rage. Using what he learns from Toothless, Hiccup begins experimenting in the arena. Instead of striking, he calms the dragons, mimicking their sounds, lowering his body, showing them he's not a threat. To everyone's shock, it works. A dragon that should have torn him apart bows its head instead. The crowd is stunned. For the first time, Hiccup isn't a failure. He's different, and for once, Stoic seems proud. But one person isn't convinced. Astrid, fierce, competitive, and determined to be the best. She doesn't trust Hiccup's sudden success. One evening she follows him into the forest. There, she sees the unthinkable. Hiccup standing beside the Night Fury, touching it like an ally. Astrid gasps, grabbing her axe. Toothless growls, teeth flashing, ready to kill. Hiccup throws himself between them, begging her to stop. Desperate, he pulls her onto Toothless's back. The dragon leaps into the air, and suddenly they're soaring over the cliffs. Into the clouds, through storms and sunlight. The live-action flight scene is breathtaking. Wind whips through their hair. The sea glitters below. Mountains rise like jagged blades. Astrid screams at first, clinging for her life, but gradually all replaces fear. When they land, she stares at Hiccup in disbelief. This is impossible. He shakes his head. No, it's real. Dragons aren't what we think they are. But Astrid warns him, if your father finds out, if anyone finds out, they won't listen. They'll kill him. They'll kill Toothless. Hiccup doesn't argue. Deep down he knows she's right. Then comes the darkest revelation. One night, Hiccup takes Astrid to follow a swarm of dragons. They fly across the ocean until they reach a massive volcanic mountain. There, hidden in the shadows, lies a horror beyond imagination. The Red Death, a dragon so colossal it dwarfs all others. Smaller dragons pour into the cavern, dropping stolen livestock at its feet. Those who falter are devoured alive. The truth hits Hiccup like a blow. The dragons don't raid Berk out of greed. They're slaves, forced to obey a tyrant or die. Astrid whispers, horrified, if your father knew about this. But Hiccup shakes his head. He knows what Stoic would do. He'd gather the warriors and march to their deaths. The weight of this secret crushes him. He realizes the enemy isn't the dragons, it's fear, tradition, and the endless cycle of violence between humans and beasts. Back in Berk, Hiccup's reputation only grows. In training, he defeats every dragon without a weapon. The crowd cheers louder each time. Stoic beams with pride, believing his son is finally becoming a true Viking. But Hiccup feels the walls closing in. His methods aren't about killing, they're about understanding. And he knows the truth can't stay hidden forever. Finally, the day comes. Hiccup is chosen for the final test. He must face a monstrous nightmare in the arena before the entire village and prove himself by killing it. The night before, he sits with Toothless in the forest, whispering, I don't want to kill dragons. I don't want to kill you. But I can't tell them the truth. They'd never understand. Toothless presses his snout into his chest, a silent comfort. The next day, the village gathers in the massive stone arena. Drums pound, warriors chant, torches blaze. Stoic stands tall, his chest swelling with pride. Today, my son becomes one of us. The gates creak open. The monstrous nightmare slithers out, flames licking its scales, wings spreading wide. The crowd roars. Hiccup steps forward, unarmed. Shock ripples through the villagers. He raises his hand slowly, calmly. The dragon snarls, ready to burn him alive. But then, impossibly, it pauses. Its fire dims. Its body lowers, head bowing toward him. Gasps echo through the arena. Hiccup has done the unthinkable. He's tamed it. And then, disaster strikes. A villager hurls a spear. The dragon panics. Flames erupting in a violent explosion. The nightmare thrashes. Charging at Hiccup, he falls back, screaming. From the forest, a roar splits the sky. The ground shakes. Toothless comes. The Night Fury bursts into the arena, wings spread, green eyes blazing with fury. The crowd freezes in horror. Legends called it the unholy offspring of lightning and death itself, and now it's here, standing protectively over Hiccup. Stoic's face twists from shock to rage. The secret is out. The boy who spared a dragon has brought one into the heart of Berk, and the world, for both humans and dragons, will never be the same again. Asterisk, the night after the dragon's retreat is anything but peaceful. The villagers, though victorious, remain unsettled. Fires still smolder in the wreckage, smoke lingers in the air, and whispers of fear run through Berk. The people no longer speak of dragons as mindless beasts. They talk about something darker, something commanding them from beyond sight. The terror they witnessed lingers in their eyes, and no celebration follows. Hiccup cannot sleep. He walks out beyond the edge of the village where Toothless waits, watching him with eyes that gleam like emeralds under the moonlight. Hiccup runs his hand over Toothless's scales, whispering words only the dragon can hear. The bond between them is undeniable. Now it's not one of fear or dominance, but of respect and friendship. And yet, it is also forbidden. If anyone knew Hiccup had been training the very creature they'd sworn to kill, it would mean his exile, or worse. But dawn breaks, and secrets don't remain hidden for long. Astrid, sharp and suspicious, has followed Hiccup into the forest. She crouches behind a fallen tree, her breath catching when she sees him laughing softly as Toothless nudges him like a loyal companion. Shock turns to confusion, confusion to anger. Dragons are killers. Dragons burned her home. Dragons nearly killed her family. And yet here is Hiccup touching one, smiling with it. She storms out of hiding, axe in hand, fury written across her face. Toothless instinctively growls, wings spreading protectively in front of Hiccup. Astrid freezes, torn between her instinct to fight and the realization that Hiccup stands unafraid behind the beast. "What is this?" she demands, her voice low but trembling. "What have you done?" Hiccup pleads with her not to scream, not to attack. He explains haltingly at first, then with growing passion that Toothless is not the monster they believe. He speaks of the way the dragon saved him, how he couldn't bring himself to kill it, how he discovered dragons were not mindless destroyers but intelligent, loyal, even gentle if treated differently. Astrid's disbelief cracks when she sees the way Toothless lowers his head, cautious yet calm, as if acknowledging her. She steps closer, heart pounding, until at last she touches his snout. The dragon doesn't attack. Instead, his eyes close briefly, like a cat trusting a stranger. Astrid withdraws, shaken. Everything she has ever been taught, every story passed down, collapses in that single moment. She wants to tell the village, to warn them of the truth that dragons aren't the enemy. But Hiccup stops her. He knows they wouldn't listen. The people are too blinded by generations of hate. Worse, if they learn about Toothless, they'll kill him instantly. Astrid stares at him, torn between loyalty to her people and the undeniable truth she just witnessed. Finally, she gives him a single nod. She won't reveal his secret, not yet. But Burke is running out of time. The raids grow worse. The dragons come not just for food, but in desperate, coordinated strikes, as though driven by an unseen command. Stoic prepares the villagers for war. Weapons are reforged, traps are laid, and ships are repaired. Yet for all their effort, the dragons always seem one step ahead. Stoic senses a pattern, something deliberate but cannot piece it together. His frustration mounts, and his disappointment in Hiccup grows. He sees his son as weak, distracted, unfit for leadership. And then comes the discovery that changes everything. While exploring an abandoned cove with Astrid and Toothless, Hiccup spots a mark scorched into the rocks, a vast clawprint, larger than anything he has ever seen. The earth is blackened, the trees surrounding it snap like twigs. Toothless growls low, his body tense, as if recognizing the scent of an old predator. Astrid's face pales. Whatever left that mark is no ordinary dragon. Hiccup puts the pieces together. The raids, the desperation, the strange unity among different dragon species. It's not instinct, it's command. There is something greater forcing the dragons to attack Burke, something too powerful for them to resist. That night, Stoic calls a gathering in the Great Hall. His voice echoes as he announces his plan to sail across the sea, to find the dragon's nest and end the war once and for all. The villagers roar in approval, their fists slamming against tables, their anger burning bright. But Hiccup feels only dread. He knows his father doesn't understand the scale of what waits across the sea. He tries to warn him, but Stoic silences him with a glare that cuts deeper than any blade. "You're not a Viking," Stoic snaps, the words laced with bitter disappointment. "You're not my son." The rejection shatters Hiccup, leaving him hollow. Toothless nudges him, a silent reminder that he's not truly alone, but the wound runs deep. Astrid, who witnessed it all, stays behind. She doesn't comfort him with words. She doesn't need to. Instead, she reminds him that he has something no Viking has ever had, the truth, and the courage to act on it. The fleet sets sail, Stoic leading with fire in his eyes, leaving Burke vulnerable behind. Hiccup watches from the cliffs, torn between obeying his father's command to stay and following his own instincts. The decision is made for him when the sky darkens with shadows. Dragons descend once more on Burke, fiercer than ever, as if sensing the absence of its warriors. This time, Hiccup does not hide, he rides. Toothless bursts into the air with Hiccup on his back, Astrid mounting a smaller dragon they manage to befriend. The villagers stare in disbelief, torn between fear and awe as the two soar into battle not to destroy the dragons, but to guide them. Hiccup doesn't fight with swords or axes. He directs Toothless with trust, weaving through fire and claws, showing the villagers a different way. Slowly, impossibly, some of the dragons respond, breaking free of the blind fury that drove them. For the first time, Burke sees what Hiccup has seen all along, that dragons can be allies. But the moment of hope is short. A roar splits the sky, so loud it shakes the ground. From the sea emerges a monstrous silhouette, wings vast enough to blot out the moon. The Dragon Queen has come, the true master of the horde, the one forcing every dragon to obey. Her eyes burn like molten gold, her body a mountain of scales, and her fire breath scorches entire fields in a single sweep. The villagers scatter in terror. Hiccup's heart pounds as he realizes the truth. Stoic and the fleet are sailing straight into her nest. They don't stand a chance. The only hope is to face her here, to distract her long enough for Burke to survive. But even Toothless, for all his speed and power, trembles before the Queen's might. The battle that follows is chaos. Dragons clash in the air, villagers fight desperately on the ground. And through it all, Hiccup clings to Toothless, searching for a way to turn the impossible into the possible. Fire rains down, homes collapse, screams echo across the night. The Queen is unstoppable, a force of nature more than a beast. Then comes the moment that will define everything. Stoic's fleet returns, battered and broken, driven back by the Queen's power. Stoic himself arrives in time to see his son not weak, not cowardly but leading, flying alongside Toothless, standing against a terror no Viking had ever dared face. For the first time, Stoic sees not a disappointment, but the future. Hiccup knows they cannot kill the Queen by brute force. She is too strong, but there is a weakness. Earlier, he noticed how the other dragons faltered when close to her. They were crumbling under her control. Toothless, however, resisted longer, his bond with Hiccup breaking through the fear. That bond is the key. If they can show the other dragons freedom, if they can inspire them to resist, the Queen will lose her army, and her power with it. Together, Hiccup and Toothless dive straight into the Queen's line of fire. It is madness, suicide, but it's the only way. The villagers watch in stunned silence as the boy they once mocked becomes their leader, guiding not just Toothless but every dragon brave enough to follow. One by one, dragons break free, turning against their tyrant master. The sky fills with wings, not in chaos, but in unity. The final clash is breathtaking. Toothless unleashes everything, his plasma blasts striking with precision as Hiccup directs him. The Queen thrashes, her roars shaking the sea itself, but she begins to falter. At last, in a desperate final attack, Hiccup commands Toothless to dive. They fall faster and faster, the Queen in pursuit, until at the last second Toothless fires a single, devastating blast. The explosion rocks the night, and the Queen crashes into the sea with a roar that fades into silence. The battle is over, the Queen is gone, and in the stunned quiet that follows, Berk stands not divided, but united with dragons circling above, not as enemies, but as allies. Stoic approaches his son, eyes heavy with shame and pride. He clasps Hiccup's shoulder and whispers words Hiccup has longed to hear. "I'm proud of you, son." The weight of rejection lifts, replaced with the warmth of belonging. Berk rebuilds not as a village of dragons, but as the first home where Vikings and dragons live together. Children laugh as they ride their new companions. Warriors marvel at the strength of their allies, and peace settles over the land. And yet, as Hiccup gazes at the horizon with Toothless by his side, he knows this is only the beginning. The world is vast. Dragons are many, and dangers still lurk in the shadows. But for now, for this moment, hope has triumphed. The impossible has been achieved. For the boy who could never kill a dragon became the man who saved them all.